Hey, good evening, ladies and gentle drunks. My name is Kevin Olson. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Welcome, everyone, to the fourth dimension. Big book study, that is. Glad you guys are all here. I know I'm glad I'm here. I never feel more alive than when I am sharing God's message of recovery in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that I discovered in a book called Alcoholics Anonymous that we are going to share together tonight. And I'm quite pleased to be here. And yeah, we're going to have some fun tonight, man. We're on step 10, which is always a good time. So with that said, let's kick off as we always do with the set aside prayer. It goes a little something like this. Sing along if you know the words. God, please help me to set aside everything I think I know about you, about me, about my fellow man, and the 12 steps. And please allow me to gain a fresh new vision, perspective, and understanding of what you, what me, what my fellow man, and the 12 steps are all about. Amen. And as this is the fourth, yeah, for sure. For sure, Ben. I see you. I see you, buddy. I see you. I know some metal horns when I see them. All right. All right. I like it, man. Yeah, let's rock, man. Let's rock and roll. Okay, and as this is the fourth dimension big book study, I always like to read the two parts of our book that refer to the fourth dimension. So first of all, on page 8, Bill Wilson writes that I was soon to be catapulted into what I like to call the fourth dimension of existence. I was to know happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life that is incredibly more wonderful as time passes. And then on page 25, with respect to the fourth dimension, Bill Wilson writes that we have found much of heaven and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. You know what's coming now. We're going to be catapulted. We're going to be rocketed. And for the sake of the tradition and custom of the fourth dimension big book study, would everyone please put one hand up like this? And everybody please put another hand up like this. And everybody go, oh yeah. I love it. I never get tired of that. I never get tired of that. Okay. So we're just finishing up step 9 from last week. I'm gonna jump into that real quick just to do some review, and then we'll get into step 10. And just so you guys are aware, step 10 is one step where I do like to read some of the 12 and 12. I'm not sure we're going to get to that tonight, but I do really, truly, genuinely appreciate the 12 and 12 and a lot of what Bill Wilson had to write in the 12 and 12. And step 10 in particular, there's some beautiful pieces in there. So if we get to it tonight, if you have your 12 and 12 handy, just know that we might jump into that as well. So, yes, great. Great. Okay. I'm going to share a couple things with you guys. I don't use the whiteboard anymore. I share this PowerPoint now. And so we talked about step 8 list, making a list of all persons we harm, categorize them into right now, later, maybe, and never. And when I start out with my step 9, what my sponsor had me do was to start with 3 names from the right now list that were not family and were ones that I was willing to do anyway, okay? And so I took those 3, and then what he taught me, what he gave me to do, thank goodness he gave me some instruction, because our book does not have very specific directions on exactly how to do a step 9. tactically. It gives us a lot of parameters on who and when and what and where, and you know, courage and prudence and patience and careful sense of timing and so on. But how do we, when I sit down to do a step 9 with someone, thank God my sponsor gave me these instructions. And although this is not directly in the big book, I always teach this at the Fourth Dimension Big Book study because it was so important to me. So the first thing we're going to say is why I'm here. Okay, why am I here? Well, as you may or may not know, I'm in recovery, and as part of my program, it is necessary for me to make amends and to try and right the harms of people that I've hurt. And I believe that you are one of those people, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Okay. And so when we do a step 9 as well, guys, remember it's always face to face. Whenever possible, it's face to face. Okay. Eyeball to eyeball, my sponsor used to say. Okay. We're not going to text message our amends. We don't Snapchat our amends. Okay. We're not going to Instagram our amends. It may be the case in certain scenarios where doing it over Zoom might be required. I had a sponsee recently who his family was in Ireland, and it was clear in order for him to move forward and just in life, he was going to need to start to make these amends with his family, and he was not going to get over to Ireland for a long time. So he is still going to do them face to face in the future, but for now we had to do it on Zoom. So why am I here? In order for me to recover and in order for me to continue on with my program, it's necessary for me to make amends to people that I've harmed. I believe that you're one of those people, and that's what I'd like to talk to you about today. Okay. Now, while we're setting up a step 9, I think it's okay to set up the step 9. You know, if you find someone on Facebook, you can send them a messenger note. You might not have, but pardon me, their phone number. You may not know how to contact them. Thank God for Facebook. It can be a helpful tool in finding people that we need to do step 9s with. We can, I think, text message or whatnot to set up the amend, but not to do the amend. Okay. To do the amend is face to face whenever possible, as much as possible. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2, how did I harm you? Here's how I harmed you. Okay. And 2 things there. I want to tie it to defects of character, and then I want to show evidence of change. Okay. So when I stole that money from you, it was extremely dishonest and selfish and inconsiderate of me to do that. And I want you to know, now moving to showing evidence of change, I want you to know that I'm not the type of person who does that anymore. I don't steal money anymore. And then, guys, what is the most important way in a scenario like that? What is the most important way that we can show evidence of change from being a person who stole money when we're going to make an amend to someone that we stole money from? What's the most important thing we can do? Anyone? Anyone?
Have a little
What should
money, a little something small to show that we're serious.
Yeah, Maggie was going like this, right? Maggie's going like this. We want to have money with us when we go to make that amend, okay? And we want to set terms with them. Here's, you know, I owed the Calgary Public Library $700 when I got sober, okay? And man, I was making about $700 a month, you know, so it was a bad deal. But I went and paid the Calgary Public Library like $10 a week for months and months and months. You might be wondering, like, what did you do to the Calgary Public Library? I stole a bunch of CDs. I stole the CDs. I took them out, I loaned them on my card, and then I just never paid them back. Man, I felt guilty about that every time. You know, my parents are big readers, and they taught me to respect libraries and so on. And anyway, so I paid that $10 a week for months and months and months until it was all paid off. Okay, that's how we start to show evidence of change. Okay, when I continually showed up late for work to our job, and eventually just disappeared, it was extremely rude and inconsiderate and selfish and self-centered of me to do that. And I want you to know at my current job, I'm a man who shows up for work on time. I don't live that way anymore. I want you to know that. Okay. Whatever the amend might be, we want to take how we harmed them. We want to tie it to a defect of character. And then we want to show evidence of change. Okay. Now, number 3, are there any other ways that I harmed you? Anything else that I did that you want to talk about? I am here to listen. Okay. And then that's the big line there. It's LISTEN, big capital letters. I sit and I listen and I let them explain to me how I harm them. Okay. And I don't debate. I don't argue. I don't rationalize. I don't say, yeah, I might have done that, but if you, it's all, I only did that because you did this other thing. If you wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't. Okay. Wrong. I sit and I listen and I understand that whatever it is they are talking about, whatever it is true for them, and that my perception of reality is not always state of the art. Okay, and that maybe they have a better picture of what really happened than I do. Which brings me to what I said in the margins there, steps 6 and 7. Okay, you heard me say this the other day. I have not in my life made a lot of progress, and God has not come into my life and made a lot of progress in steps 6 and 7 by spending a lot of time working on steps 6 and 7. I make a lot of progress in steps 6 and 7 by doing steps 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, and so right here, if I'm really listening, I can get a beautiful lens into how my defects of character have actually harmed people. Okay. And I'm not saying it's comfortable to hear that. I'm not saying it's fun to hear that, but it is very meaningful. Okay. Almost nothing of spiritual value ever happens in a comfort zone. Okay. It is uncomfortable and it is spiritually enriching for me to sit and listen to that. Some of you may have heard me say, and I'll tell you right now, the thing that I did that harmed my father the most when I sat and did this with him, when I said, Dad, is there anything else? The thing that he told me I did that harmed him the most, it was not the shoving matches. It was not the stolen money. It was not the wrecked car. It was not the lies. It was something so simple that I didn't even recognize it was something I had done that would have harmed him. Now, I'm not saying boastfully that it happened in a blackout and I don't remember doing it. I remember this for sure. But it was the thing that I did that just indicated to my father that I don't care about you at all. I don't care about you. I don't care about your life. I don't care about what's important to you. Absolute, complete, selfish, self-centered disrespect. And had I not asked him that question, I would never have, number one, I would never have been able to mend his and my relationship. And we're good buddies today. Okay, good buddies today. And I never would have been able to see how my selfishness caused harm. Not drunkenness, because I wasn't drunk when this happened, just selfish. Okay. So then, what do I need to do to make this right? How can I amend our relationship? What do I need to do to amend our relationship? Okay. And what my sponsor told me to say there is, I am willing to do whatever you ask. Okay. Now, my thought, and probably most people's thought, is, well, what if they ask us to do something we're not willing to do? Let's cross that bridge when we come to it. But I will tell you that I have asked that question to I will say personally, in my own life, dozens of people, dozens in this process. And my sponsees have gone out and used this list and asked that question to dozens, if not hundreds of people. And not a single time has anyone asked us to do anything that we were not willing to do. 98% of the time, here's a little spoiler alert, 98% of the time, and I'm sure some of the older timers know this. I'm sure Rob knows this. I'm sure Linda, Farron, Gail, I'm sure you know and you will agree. 98% of the time, they say, just keep doing what you're doing. Just stay sober. This was enough. This is good. I'm glad you came to talk to me, but this is fine. Just stay sober and keep doing what you're doing. 98% of the time. Okay. And the other 2% of the time, there might be, a change, why don't you come around the house more often? Come here every Sunday. I'd like to see more of you. Like, well, there's a change. Okay. Okay. Why don't you, it'd be really good well, you know what? You took some of those books, and I need to get those books back. Can you get those books back to me? Like, oh man, yeah, of course I'll get those books back to you. Maybe I just forgot about, whatever. Okay, but they're gonna tell us. Okay, and then we know what we have to do. And then, I mean, it was a revolutionary thing in my life and in my recovery, transformational, very pivotal moment. I think that the like pivotal moments in AA are one when we learn column 4 and step 4, when I start to be able to see that new perspective. Pivotal moment in step 5, obviously. Pivotal moment in step 9, when I start to see and realize that I am actually able to clean up my life. That Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't ask me just to live in the mess, but I was actually able to repair the damage that I had done in my life. Transformational. And then the last pivotal moment, spoiler alert, is when I get my first sponsee. And you get your first sponsee, man, that's a life changer. Absolute life changer for any alcoholic. So then, as I said last week, and I know I'm just doing some review here, but for years, I just had those 4 questions. I mean, like, I taught those 4 questions in this study for like 14, 15 years, just those 4 questions over and over and over. And it occurred to me that in step 8, the only downfall in step 8 is that I can't really make a list of all people that I've harmed, because I may not remember or realize all the people that I've harmed. I can only make a list of all the people that I know that I've harmed. Doesn't mean that there aren't people that I don't know about. And one of my sponsees went out and did this process, and he came back and he said, you know what happened though? The person I was making amends to suggested a couple other people that I needed to go make amends to that I hadn't thought of. And I thought, there it is. That's it. Now it's 5 questions. And the last question that we're going to ask the person is there anyone else you can think of that I should make an amend to? And who knows what beautiful things can come from just asking that one simple question and being thorough in this deal. Okay. So, I'm not sharing this anymore. You'll see at the bottom here, guys, I wrote direct versus indirect amends. Okay. Step 9 says that we made direct amends wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Direct amends are not always possible. It is not always possible to make direct amends. That does not mean that an indirect amend is not also possible. Okay. And I don't mean, I know we talk in AA about like living amends. Okay. I'm just staying sober and being a better person. I'm making amends to people. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something a lot more direct than that, but it is not a direct amend directly to the person that I owe money to or that I've harmed. Okay. I can make indirect amends. So for example, when I was much younger, I got into trouble with some credit cards. And the real trouble is they weren't my credit cards. Right. Ugh. Hoo-hoo. Ugh. So so what are you going to do about a thing like that? What are you going to do? Go to MasterCard, show up, say, hey, it was me. I took the money, go to jail for fraud. As our book says, I needed to be willing to do that, but thank God I sat with my sponsor and my sponsor's sponsor and my sponsor's sponsor's sponsor at Kane's Harley Davidson Diner, one of the most spiritual places on earth. And we sat there and read through the big book and discussed what I needed to do. And that's a perfect example. Okay. What we can do in a situation like that is to pay back, the approximate amount of money to a charity that might be supported by that company. Okay. I have all kinds of sponsees. Well, I stole money from this liquor store, or I stole money from Tim Hortons, or I stole whatever. Find something, find a way to make an amend indirectly. Okay. I've known guys that were, at one point in their lives, they were very violent people, and this is, certainly more tragic one. They were violent towards women at one point in their life. And how are they going to go make amends? What are they going to do? Go back and apologize to the women that they had terrorized? No, I don't think so. Okay. So I know those individuals. One of them volunteered time, not at the women's shelter, obviously, but doing work for the women's shelter, completely separate from that building. But he was able to go and invest time and make some amends that way, in addition to changing who he was and not being that way anymore. So those are all examples of indirect amends. Certainly there are some living amends, in addition to that. My dad, I talked about my dad and I being good buddies. Like, my dad and I go watch baseball games all the time. I take him out to baseball games. He's not very ambulatory anymore, but we go out and we go spend time together. Okay. And I don't do it because it's a step 9. But you better believe that part of that is continuing to amend the harms that I caused him years after year after year after year. And some of it's part of step 12, it's part of step 9, it's part of step 6 and 7, it's part of step 3, it's part of everything. But mostly I just like going to watch baseball games with my dad. And I'm not even that big of a baseball fan, man. I just like being there with him, because I know when he's there, he's in heaven. That is heaven for him. Watching a baseball game in person with his son, that is as good as it gets for my dad. And anything I can do to help him be there is what I want to do. Okay? Okay, guys, let's go into step 10. So we are on page 84. And Brad isn't here tonight. I need a reader. Benjamin Collins, how would you like to be a reader for us tonight? Yeah? You're on, fella. Okay, page 84, guys. We are on step 10. And we'll see how this goes. I've got a little bit to say, and we may jump into the 12 and 12 as well. But let's Ben, let's start reading through the book. This thought brings us to step 10.
This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. You can continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we
Okay,
resolutely.
that's great. Ben, I'm just going to jump in there. So, one of the things it says here, guys, is that we have entered the world of the spirit. Okay, it's like we just entered, we just got in. Okay, and now my job is to make sure that I stay there. Okay, I want to stay in the world of the spirit. Okay, I don't want to be living this life where I get kicked out of the realm of the spirit and then have to keep finding my way back over and over. Okay. And it's going to talk about that in a minute here, when it talks about it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action. But what I want to do is stay in this world of the spirit. And in order to do that, the next thing I have to do is grow in understanding and effectiveness. And part of what I'm going to do, if I'm going to grow in understanding and effectiveness, is I am going to inventory. Okay? There's no way around it in AA. I am going to inventory. I can put it off and put it off and put it off and put it off until I'm so sick, I'm almost drunk, or I can do a little bit all the time, a little bit every day. And I'm going to show you guys something. For a moment. It never occurred to me. I just realized even if you don't have your 12 and 12, I got one here for you. So there you go. All right. So I suggest that you read this entire step. I mean, it's excellent. This is what I want to share with you guys right now, though. Although all inventories are alike in principle, the time factor does distinguish one from another. So it's going to tell us about 3 types of inventory. Okay, guys? The first is Bill Wilson calls it the spot check inventory. Taken any time of the day, wherever we find ourselves getting tangled up. Okay, that's number 1. The second is the daily or nightly inventory. He says there's the one we take at day's end when we review the happenings of the hours just past. Here we cast up a balance sheet, crediting ourselves with things well done and chalking up debits where due. Now, this is the third type of step 10 inventory. Then there are those occasions when alone or in the company of our sponsor or spiritual advisor, we make a careful review of our progress since last time. Many AAs go in for, this is what we call it, the annual or semi-annual house cleaning. Okay, so you'll see here, on this PowerPoint, here in terms of the spot check inventory, okay, there are 3 inventories that we do: the spot check inventory, the daily or nightly inventory, or the annual or semi-annual house cleaning. Okay, so step 10 says we continued to take inventory. Okay, well, that presupposes that I've learned how to do it in the first place. And where did I learn to do it in the first place? First place I learned to do it, obviously, is in step 4. Okay, that 4-column inventory that we talk about. Column 1, who am I angry at? Column 2, why am I angry? Column 3, how is it affecting me? In between column 3 and column 4, saying the sick man prayer, page 67, page 552. Then, where am I to blame? Where am I to blame in the past? What decisions based on self did I make? Okay, where am I to blame when I look in the mirror? And where am I to blame today? I have that imprinted on the inside of my forehead every day. Okay, I know those columns inside and out, and I hope that you do too. Same with fear. Column 1, what is the fear? Column 2, why am I afraid? Column 3, how is self-reliance failing me in terms of this fear? Then, God, please remove my fear of this situation and direct my attention towards what you would have me be. Column 4, how would trusting God and doing his will remove the fear? Surface level, deeper level. Okay? I utilize those 4-column inventories as part of my step 10, so that when I am out in the world and I'm ticked off at Bob at work, in my mind, before I can get to pen and paper, I can say, okay, for me, it's like I usually kind of default to column 4. Okay, what decisions based on self that I make that put me in this position to be hurt? Okay. And when I'm looking in the mirror, the thing that I'm ticked off at Bob about, is there any part of me that's guilty of the same thing? Yes. Okay. And none of that changes the situation. None of that changes Bob, whoever Bob is. Okay. What it changes is the way that I look at these situations. So that's all part of the spot check inventory. Right then and there, when I'm tangled up in that moment, when I'm feeling out of sorts, okay, I immediately want to go and take that anger or that fear, okay? And that's a big part of step 10 as well, is just the awareness, being able to pause and say to myself, okay, I feel tangled up. That's the word that Bill uses, and that's the word that I use too, because it's a good way to explain it. I'm tangled up. What is this? I got to pause and like, oh, this is a resentment. I'm resentful at this person. Or I'm tangled up and like, I'm full of fear right now. Okay, well, I know what the solution is to that. Column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. God, please remove this fear of this situation. But I can't apply that tool unless I first pause and I'm recognizing that when I'm in is another one really hard for me to identify because I don't want to admit it when I'm in it. Self-pity. I don't want to admit I'm in self-pity. This is a really serious situation and you don't understand. No, it's self-pity. I'm living in self-pity, and lack of gratitude is the challenge. Lack of gratitude is my problem. Okay. So those are spot check inventories. Okay. Right in the moment. Okay. Right in the moment. And how, for right now though, I want to point something out to you. In step 10, what Ben just read, I saw this for, I read through this for years and never really fully recognized it. So I want you to go to page 84 again. Okay, and it says continue to watch for 4 things. There's 4 things that we watch for. Okay, and this is how simple it is, guys. Okay, and I want you to see, I put it on my on this PowerPoint here. We're going to look for 4 things and we're going to do 4 things. Okay, so the 4 things we look for: selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. 4 things. We're going to look for 4 things and then we're going to do 4 things. 1, when these crop up, 1, we ask God at once to remove them. 2, we discuss them with someone immediately. 3, make amends if we've harmed anyone. And 4, we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. Okay? We look for 4 things: selfishness, resentment, dishonesty, fear. When these crop up, not if they crop up. That's not what he says. He says when they crop up, because they're going to crop up. When they crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. 1. 2, we talk to someone immediately about them. 3, we make amends if we've harmed anyone. And 4, we resolutely turn our thoughts to how we can help others. Okay? Now, I share about this a lot, and it's in where I'm from right now, where I live in Calgary. There seems to be this almost like an epidemic of people doing step 10s. And what it just started a few years ago, and it was the oddest thing because I'd never really heard it before. These guys would call and say, Kevin, do you have time for a step 10? Like, okay, that means what they meant is that they wanted to call, they were looking at that one part of those 4 directions. Okay, there's 4 parts to that direction. 1, we ask God to remove it. 2, we talk to someone about it. 3, we make amends if we've harmed anyone. And 4, we resolutely turn our thoughts to how we can go help others. Okay, we go help somebody. Okay, they were, and there were some sponsors in Calgary that were telling guys to like really focus on that one part, which is talk to someone else about your step 10. Okay, now I'm not entirely opposed to that, but one of the things my grand sponsor Clancy would say is that sometimes in AA there's 2 types of people. There's people you can't make do inventory, and there are people you cannot keep from doing inventory, and they just want to inventory everything. And why is that? Because inventory can become a publicly acceptable form of self-obsession. And that's what I was seeing. These guys were calling every day. Oh, I had this thought, I had this feeling, I had this emotion, I wanted to talk. So they would call and like, do you have time for a step 10? And I would say, oh, you mean you want to listen to my step 10? No. I mean, I want to call, oh, you want to talk about yourself is what you want to do. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's the root of our trouble in AA. Okay. Me being obsessed with my own life. So it's a fine line, brothers and sisters. Okay. Now, what do I think? You guys know me a little bit. Of the 4 actions that it asks us to take, ask God to remove it, talk to someone about it, make amends if we harmed anyone, or go help somebody. There you go, Ben. That's it. Go help someone else. That is, when in doubt, whenever in doubt in AA, just go help somebody. Just go be useful to someone, to anyone. That is, to me, that is the secret. Okay. Does that mean we don't take the other 3 directions? Of course not. Okay. If I am selfish, when I am resentful, when I am dishonest, when I'm not going to say every night, but I will say like 360 nights a year, I go through those 4 items. Where was I selfish today? Where was I dishonest today? Where was I resentful today? And where was I afraid today? And I go through those. Okay. And then I take those actions. Okay. I ask God at once to remove it, particularly resentments or fear. Okay. I ask God at once to remove my resentment, remove the fear. I say the sick man prayer. I'll say the fear prayer. I'll talk to someone else about it if it's indicated, if I really think I need to. And typically I'll talk to my sponsor about it, is who I'll talk to about it. Okay. And I've got a couple of other trusted elder statesmen in my life that I'll talk to about it if I need to. I will make amends. Absolutely, I'll make amends if I've harmed people. And I do. Just the other day, little King Kevin had a little episode with the concierge at my building, because the city of Calgary has decided that they're shutting down the parkade in front of my building. I'm not going to be able to have access to my parkade for 2 days. Okay. Like, and can you imagine, the city of Calgary did not consult me. I'm kidding. But I reacted very poorly to my dear friend Arish. Shiva met him the other day, Arish, and I had to go. I made amends because I harmed Arish, and whatever. That's what we do. It's how we live. And then go help someone, 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 go help someone. That's the key. That's the key. Okay. So Ben, I'm going to ask you, let's go back to step 10 in the book and where it says, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone. So if there's only one thing, Ben, just one more quick moment. There's only one thing you take away from this study tonight, step 10. We look for 4 things and we do 4 things. Okay? It's as simple as that. And if I keep it that simple, and then the other thing is I got to practice that. Okay? In the moment, spot check inventory. When I get tangled up, at day's end, if you want what we have, you got to do what we do. And what we do is daily and nightly inventory, brothers and sisters. That is a given. Okay. And then as annual or semi-annual house cleaning, which is a much deeper dive. It's essentially like doing a 5th step every year. Okay. Ben, back to you. And we have ceased fighting.
And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep fit spiritual condition.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so these are known, guys, as what we just read are known as the step 10 promises. Okay, and in a lot of ways, they're the most tangible promises, more so than like the step 9 promises. There's step 5 promises, there's step 3 promises, but these are the real meat and potatoes, like of what we're here to talk about, man. This is where sanity has returned. Okay, so step 2 says, came to believe that a power greater than themselves could restore us to sanity. Okay, doesn't mean that that power has restored us to sanity. Just means that we came to believe that a power could restore us to sanity. At what point does sanity return? Well, there can be no argument about this. It's clear. For by this time, sanity will have returned. Okay? Sanity has returned. That means that with respect to the first drink, I no longer believe the lie. I no longer am a prey to this mental obsession. An obsession is just an idea that supersedes and becomes bigger than all other ideas and is so big that it can actually convince me to believe things that aren't true. And this no longer happens by the time I get to step 10. This time, sanity has returned. If tempted by alcohol, which we may be sometimes, if tempted, what does it say? We recoil from it as from a hot flame. Okay? Now, I want you to take a pen or whatever, pencil, whatever, and write see page 24. Okay? On page 84, I want you to write see page 24. And if you go to page 24, you may have a line in there if we follow directions in the past that says see page 84, okay? Because on page 24, it says there is when I'm still insane, when I am still a prey to alcoholic insanity, it says there is a complete failure of the kind of defense that keeps one from putting his hand on a hot stove. We keep burning ourselves over and over and over, and we are without defense against burning myself on this stove over and over and over. I cannot keep and prevent myself from burning myself on page 24. By page 84, if tempted, I recoil as from a hot flame. I have been restored to sanity by the time I get to step 10. Now, what has happened, though, in between step 2 and step 10? A lot of work, a lot of work. Steps 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. and 10, where I'm continuing to take this inventory, okay? And so by doing that work, I have become restored to sanity with respect to the first drink. It doesn't mean that there is not, still challenges and problems in my life and so on and so forth. But the alcoholic problem has been removed. Okay. We are placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. Okay. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. Okay. But there's a price to pay. 1 second, Shiva, I'll get to you. There's a price to pay. Okay. And that price is constant vigilance in Alcoholics Anonymous. Constant vigilance. Being in AA is like walking up the down escalator at the mall. You ever tried to walk up the down escalator? Okay, first of all, I really gotta be hustling. You gotta move. You want to make progress on that down escalator. But the point that my sponsor made when he first told me that is that I don't even have to actively decide to turn around and start walking back down that escalator. All I have to do is stop doing what I'm doing, and that escalator will take me down every time, just like alcoholism. Okay. The only thing that accounts in AA is what I do. And let's use some example. Let's think about Bill Wilson in the Mayflower Hotel. Okay. Bill Wilson in the Mayflower Hotel, thank God in that moment, business deals gone bad. You can hear the bar down the hall. And in that moment, he thinks about drinking. He can hear the bar and the laughter and probably the ice clinkling in the glass and all that. He can hear it, man. Okay. And in that moment, he is restored to sanity. Make no mistake, it is not in that situation that Bill Wilson just says, I'm not going to drink today. He doesn't just change his mind. Bill Wilson is an alcoholic, like I'm an alcoholic. It's not that Bill Wilson just learned his lesson and decided not to drink that day. Bill Wilson was restored to sanity by a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps that he had taken the previous 6 months up to that. Okay? Working with other alcoholics. He was restored to sanity in that moment. But what my grand sponsor Clancy always points out is that 6 months prior to that, Bill Wilson was in the town's hospital, and he is an individual that had an actual burning bush, white light, spiritual experience in the town's hospital. Not many people in AA have that type of spiritual upheaval that Bill Wilson had in the town's hospital. But 6 months later, he's ready to drink again, man. Okay? When the heat is on, people like us drink. And I can't stay sober on a spiritual awakening I had 6 months ago, or a week ago, or even yesterday. I can only stay sober on what I'm doing and the actions that I'm taking right now today. Okay? There are 2 times in AA where we need to exercise special vigilance in order to stay sober. The first is in the first 30 days. First 30 days, I have to work extremely hard to stay sober. And the other time is all the time after that. Okay? So now let's go back to page 85. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program.
It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will.
All right, and I love that line. I love that line. Okay, that we have to align our will with God's will. That's when we start to use it rightly. I think willpower gets a real bad rap in AA. we're very quick in AA to say like willpower is of absolutely no avail. Willpower is useless. Throw it out the window. It's like, okay, just hang on a second. Okay. There's really only one step where willpower is of absolutely no avail, and that's step one. We all understand that. But a lot of the other steps require a lot of willpower, actually. There are times where it takes me a lot of willpower of Kevin having to force himself to do my meditation at night, to do my inventory at night. But what I'm really doing in those scenarios is not Kevin's will. I am aligning my will with God's will. I can use it along those lines all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. God has given us strength and intellect and all sorts of powers as human beings, but it is not until I got access to the power and started to align my will with his will that I start to use the willpower correctly. Does that make sense, you guys? In the past, I was always using my own willpower for my own selfish, self-centered, disgusting needs. And today, I try to the best extent that I can, to align my will with God's will. There's a line on page 552. It says, the only real freedom a man will ever know is doing what he ought to do because he wants to do it. When I ought to be doing something and I want to be doing something, I am free. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, I ought to be doing something and I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it, but I do it because I've surrendered my will to God, and I grab little King Kevin's selfish self-will kicking and screaming, and I pull it into alignment with God's will for me. And then I get there and I think, oh, look how good I am that I did this again. Oh, Kevin, is there no end to your goodness, Kevin? So that's it, man. Okay, aligning our will with God's will. Ben, let's finish out the paragraph here, and we'll be done reading step 10 in the big book.
Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of his spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action.
Beautiful, more action. All right, we'll get into step 11 next week, brothers and sisters. But for now, in step 10 and the 12 and 12, I have it loaded up here. Does anybody have their 12 and 12 in hand that would like to read this for us? Ben, you have it? You've got your 12 and 12? Attaboy. All right, page 90. So look, guys, I don't know why when I was initially in treatment, this piece of step 10 just jumped out at me and became part of my daily reading. And I read this every morning for a long time in when I was in treatment, and that's over 20 years ago. And it's beautiful. And I just like reading it as part of the study, and we'll read through it, and we should be done in about 5 minutes, and we'll finish right at 7 p.m. So starting with, it is a spiritual axiom.
It is a spiritual axiom that every time we are disturbed, no matter what the cause, there is something wrong with us. If somebody hurts us and we are sore, we are in the wrong also. But are there no exceptions to this rule? What about justifiable anger? If somebody cheats us, aren't we entitled to be mad? Can't we be properly angry with self-righteous folk? For us of AA, these are dangerous exceptions. We have found that justified anger ought to be left to those better qualified to handle it. Few people have been more victimized by resentments than have we alcoholics. It mattered little whether our resentments were justified or not. A burst of our temper could spoil a day, and a well-nursed grudge could make us miserably ineffective. Nor were we ever skillful in separating justified from unjustified anger. As we saw it, our wrath was always justified. Anger, that occasional luxury of more balanced people, could help us on an emotional jag indefinitely. These emotional dry benders often led straight to the bottle. Other kinds of disturbances, jealousy, envy, self-pity, or hurt pride, did the same thing. A spot check inventory taken in the midst of such disturbances can be a very great help in quieting stormy emotions. Today's spot check finds its chief application to situations which arise in each day's march. The consideration of long-standing difficulties had better be postponed. When possible, no times deliberately set aside for that purpose. The quick inventory is aimed at our daily ups and downs, especially those where people or new events throw us off balance and tempt us to make mistakes. In all these situations, we need self-restraint, honest analysis of what is involved, a willingness to admit when the fault is ours, and an equal willingness to forgive when the fault is elsewhere. We need not be discouraged when we fall into the error of our old ways, for our disciplines are not easy. We shall look for progress, not for perfection. Our first objective will be the development of self-restraint. This carries a top priority rating. When we speak or act hastily or rashly, the ability to be fair-minded and tolerant evaporates on the spot. One unkind tirade or one unwillful snap judgment can ruin our relation with another person for a whole day or maybe a whole year. Nothing pays off like restraint of tongue and pen. We must avoid quick-tempered criticism and furious power-driven argument. The same goes for sullen or silent scorn. These are emotional booby traps, baited with pride and vengefulness. Our first job is to sidestep the traps. When we are tempted by the bait, we should train ourselves to step back and think, for we can neither think nor act to good purpose until the habit of self-restraint has become automatic.
Okay, Ben,
This
we're
is
just gonna pause. We're gonna pause there. We've got 1 minute to go before 7 p.m. and I wanna end right on time. Everyone, don't run away. As always, we're gonna stop. Everyone, we'll end the meeting. Everyone, go around the room and we'll say hello to everyone. Just give us your name and where you're from and say a quick hello. What I wanted to point out though here is how important Bill Wilson underlines that restraint of tongue and pen. That means I keep my mouth shut. Okay. I don't talk, I don't say, I don't react, I don't respond to people. It carries a top priority rating, okay? When I was in treatment the first time, they taught me this acronym, MYOB-KYMS, as the most important way to do step 10 on a preemptive basis. Mind your own business, keep your mouth shut, okay? Which sounds like a great idea, but I want you guys to know how this relates to step 11. I'll talk about this more next week. Mindfulness meditation has had a profound impact on my ability as a human being to not react to people and not get into these types of collisions with other people, and to just stay fair-minded and tolerant, okay? Like still water some of the time, okay? Not always, but way better. I mean, I used to be like a damn pinball machine of emotions, okay? And today I'm better. And I attribute a lot of that to mindfulness meditation, okay? And we'll share that next week as well. Okay, that's it, guys. We'll close with the Lord's Prayer. And we'll just quickly go around the room and say hello to everyone and just let us know where you're from. We got people on from all over the world tonight. It's the best thing ever.